The air hummed with the sweet scent of freshly cut grass and blooming hydrangeas. Sunlight glinted off the manicured lawns of Maplewood Drive. It was the kind of suburb where dreams were supposed to come true. Pastor Michael Mills and his radiant wife Amelia were living proof. Their charming Victorian house stood as a beacon of their love and success. Michael, with his warm smile and captivating sermons, was the heart of the upscale suburban community where they lived. Amelia, a renowned interior designer, exuded elegance and grace. They were the epitome of a power couple. Their lives were seemingly touched by an extra dose of blessings. Their storybook romance was the envy of many. They had met at a charity gala, with his kindness drawing her in and her quick wit captivating him. Their love story unfolded like a classic movie. Romantic dates, stolen kisses, and whispered promises under the starlit sky. Their wedding was the talk of the town, a testament to their love and shared faith. As their lives together blossomed, so did their desire to build a family. They eagerly awaited the day they could share their love with a child, a tiny being to complete their idyllic world. The couple's struggle with infertility had been a sore subject, but after years of trying, the miraculous news of Amelia's pregnancy had brought unbridled joy. The gender reveal party was nothing short of spectacular, a manifestation of Michael's overflowing joy and gratitude. Little did he know, the night would unfold revelations that would shake the very foundations of his life. Excitement crackled in the air. Pink and blue balloons danced in the gentle summer breeze. The scent of barbecue wafted from the grill, mingling with the sweet aroma of Amelia's famous strawberry pie. Friends and members of the congregation flocked to the grand garden of the pastor's home. Expensive champagne flowed, and delicacies of haute cuisine filled tables decorated with fresh lilies, Amelia's favorite flowers. Laughter and chatter filled the air, punctuated by the excited squeals of children chasing each other through the meticulously maintained flower beds. The occasion was a gender reveal party for Michael and Amelia. Months of planning had culminated in this joyous celebration. Amelia, glowing in a flowing floral dress, radiated happiness. Michael, his eyes sparkling with love and anticipation, couldn't stop himself from occasionally placing a protective hand on Amelia's rounded belly. He whispered words of love and encouragement in her ears, his heart overflowing with gratitude for the life growing within her. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the lawn, the guests gathered around. The air thickened with anticipation. All eyes were on Michael and Amelia as they stood hand in hand, ready to unveil the precious secret they had been carrying. The moment had arrived to reveal whether they would welcome a little boy or a little girl into their lives. Cameras flashed, capturing the smiles that lit up their faces. David, Michael's best friend and the designated master of ceremonies for the day, stepped forward. A mischievous twinkle danced in his eyes as he held aloft a large black box. Inside, hidden from view, was the answer everyone was waiting for. A pink or blue cloud of smoke would soon reveal the gender of the unborn child. The excitement was palpable. This wasn't just a party. It was a celebration of love, family, and the promise of new beginnings. "All right, everyone," David announced, his voice booming across the hushed garden. "It's time to find out if we need to stock up on pink tutus or blue teddy bears." He paused for dramatic effect, a wide grin on his face. "Michael, Amelia, are you ready?" he asked. They both nodded, their fingers intertwined, their eyes locked in a silent conversation. This was their moment, the moment they had eagerly anticipated. With a flourish, David opened the box. The vibrant colors of the sunset had just begun to fade into twilight, casting a soft glow over the elaborate backyard festooned with ribbons and balloons. The air was filled with laughter and cheers as the gender reveal cannon drifted into the twilight and blue smoke billowed into the sky, signaling they were expecting a boy, a future heir for Pastor Michael Mills. The congregation clapped and embraced, caught up in the celebratory spirit that marked the highlight of the gender reveal party. Michael, his face radiant with joy, was making his rounds through the crowd, shaking hands and sharing hearty laughs, when he felt a firm grip on his shoulder. It was David, his best man and friend since childhood, looking unusually disheveled and pale under the festoon lights. The smell of alcohol was strong on his breath as he leaned close, his voice barely a whisper amid the cacophony of celebration. "Michael, I need to talk to you. I need to tell you something very important. There is something you should know about the baby," David muttered, his eyes darting nervously. Puzzled by David's grave tone, Michael led him away from the crowd towards the shadowed fringes of the garden, where the noise of the party dulled into a distant hum. He watched David struggle for words, his face contorted in an expression of deep anguish. "Michael, there's something you need to know," David began again, his voice shaky in drunken stupor. "It's about the baby. Amelia and I—" His words trailed off as if the weight of them was too heavy to bear. Michael felt a cold dread rise in his chest, his heart pounding loudly in his ears. "What about Amelia and the baby? Is something wrong?" he pressed, a terrible wave of anxiety starting to claw its way into his mind. David took a deep, trembling breath, his gaze falling to the ground. "Your baby, Michael, I'm so sorry, but the baby is actually mine. I made this happen for you," he stuttered drunkenly. The words fell out and crashed into Michael like a tidal wave, each one a blow to his heart, his mind, and everything he believed to be true. For a moment, time seemed to freeze around Michael. Did he hear David well? He thought he was dreaming. The sounds of merriment and music from the party became a distant, mocking echo. His vision blurred as he stared at David, his loyal friend and confidant for almost all of his life. What should have been a moment of pure joy had suddenly morphed into a scene of disbelief and growing unease. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, a searing, hot betrayal that turned his joy into ashes. His knees weakened and almost buckled, and he grasped at a nearby chair to steady himself, the full impact of the confession rendering him momentarily speechless. "Wait, what did you just say?" Michael finally whispered, the words scratching at his throat, raw with disbelief and hurt. "What do you mean the baby is yours? Are you drunk?" David's eyes were filled with remorse, but it was no solace to Michael. As David explained what had happened, the revelation shattered Michael's world, leaving him enveloped in a cold, dark wave of despair. Michael stood there amidst the shadows of the garden, feeling as if the ground beneath him had opened up, threatening to swallow him whole into a void of despair and disbelief. The laughter and joy of the party seemed like a cruel joke now, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions raging inside him. Michael was in utter shock and despair after David's explosive confession. He quietly slipped away from the garden, unnoticed by the jubilant guests who were still immersed in the celebration. His steps were unsteady, each one heavier than the last, as he made his way back into the quiet sanctuary of his home. Inside the walls of the house, which had once felt like a bastion of love and security, now seemed to close in on him. Michael moved through the dimly lit hallways, his mind racing and his chest pounding as the weight of betrayal sat heavy on his chest. He found solace in the solitude of his study, a room filled with books and memories of better times. Here in the silence, he sank into his chair, the familiar leather cold against his skin, as the magnitude of what had just been revealed began to truly sink in. In the privacy of his study, Michael allowed the dam of his emotions to break. Anguish and confusion washed over him, tears streaming down his face as he grappled with the reality of his wife's infidelity and the deception of his best friend. The future he had envisioned, so full of hope and joy, now lay in ruins at his feet. As the night wore on, Michael remained secluded in his study, wrestling with his thoughts and the shattered pieces of his life, contemplating the unimaginable decisions that lay ahead. Later that night, after the last of the guests had departed and the remnants of the celebration lay scattered around their once joyful home, a devastated and distraught Michael confronted his wife. His steps were heavy as he made his way to their bedroom, where she sat on the edge of the bed, seemingly lost in happiness, oblivious to the impending storm. As Michael stood at the doorway, the bedside lamp's soft glow cast long shadows throughout the space that mirrored the tension in the air. His silhouette was framed by the light, and his face a mask of pain and betrayal. "Amelia," he began, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Amelia was suddenly startled. She instantly knew something was wrong because Michael never called her by her name. He'd always fondly called her sweetheart. As she turned and looked at him with awe, Michael said, "David told me about the baby, about everything. Why? Please tell me this is not true," he added. Amelia's shocked face crumbled. How did he find out, she thought, the deep truth already heavy on her conscience. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked up at him, her voice trembling. "My love, I'm so sorry," she cried. "I never wanted to hurt you. I was so afraid of losing our chance to have a family." She said she didn't want him to know that the doctor said he was impotent and may never be able to bear children of his own. She added that she believed the news would be devastating to him and cause ridicule among his friends and followers. She had to protect his honor and integrity, she added, sobbing loudly. Her confession was a torrent of tears and regret. She spoke of her desperation, her fear of a childless life, and how those fears led her to betray Michael. The air between them was thick with sorrow and regret. Michael moved closer, his own heart breaking at the sight of her anguish, but torn by the betrayal. "How could you?" he whispered, the hurt evident in his voice. They talked through the night, Amelia explaining her desperation and loneliness, and how she had turned to David in a moment of weakness, driven by the devastating news of Michael's supposed infertility. The conversation was fraught with tears and confessions, each revelation a new wound on their marriage. As dawn broke, the room filled with a somber light, casting long shadows across the floor. Though much was said, an uneasy silence hung over them, the future of their relationship uncertain, and the trust that once bound them now deeply fractured. The betrayal was not just personal, but professional, as the family doctor had breached confidentiality, setting the stage for the heartbreak. The doctor, who was also a personal friend, never told him the truth about his impotence, giving him false hope every time he attended the clinic. The days that followed were a blur for Michael. His sermons, once full of vigor, now faltered as he struggled with his inner turmoil. The congregation whispered, sensing the shift in their pastor's demeanor. Michael, tormented by betrayal and engulfed in scandal, feared the repercussions once the truth inevitably came to light. Michael's contemplation of legal retribution became a focal point of his days. Meetings with lawyers intertwined with secret consultations with fellow religious leaders who urged him to seek a path of forgiveness and legal restraint. Meanwhile, mysterious letters began to appear, hinting at deeper conspiracies involving David and the doctor and suggesting a premeditated plot against him. As Michael delved deeper into the mystery, he uncovered uncomfortable truths about David and the doctor's past connections, revealing a web of deception that extended far beyond personal grievances. This discovery led him to question everything he believed about his life and relationships. The community rallied around him, their support becoming a pillar of strength as he navigated this labyrinth of deceit. Choosing to rise above the chaos, Michael sought solace in his faith. He and Amelia attended intensive retreats, seeking healing and understanding through spiritual guidance. Slowly, the pieces of their shattered relationship began to mend, strengthened by shared pain and renewed faith. Ultimately, Michael decided to forgive. He addressed his congregation, delivering a powerful sermon on forgiveness and redemption that resonated deeply, reflecting his genuine journey through pain to forgiveness. David was forgiven but removed from Michael's life, a necessary end to a painful chapter. Years later, Michael's trials had transformed him into a leader of profound depth and resilience. His church, now a sanctuary for those seeking redemption from their own trials, had grown exponentially. Michael and Amelia, blessed with a son born of their reconciliation and love, led their community not only with words, but with the powerful testimony of their lives. As we conclude this story, we invite you to share your thoughts and reflections. Do you believe Pastor Michael did the right thing to not divorce Amelia? And did Amelia do the right thing by making the decision she made to protect her husband from shame and ridicule? Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing stories.